I'm down for some more castle. Yeah, let's do castle. I have some ideas. Castle strats. Asian Dumbo. Thank you to Asian Dumbo for the price sub and welcome. Oh my god, that ban wave!
Oh my god.
My god, that ban wave though.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that felt great. Oh, here's the second one. Oh, what is this?
God.
Holy shit! Look at them! Look at them all get wrecked. Oh my god. I just have to sit back and enjoy this right now, chat.
It's still going.
It's still going. It's still going.
Never gonna.
What? Chat, what is this? What? I'm talking to Epi. I swear to God. Okay, like, how do I even explain this? How the hell do I even explain this? No, like, literally, how do I explain this? How do I explain this? Like, how do I explain this? Like, I swear to fucking God, I've never done this. I swear to fucking God, I've never done this. Like, what is this? Like, I swear.
This is a tale as old as time, or at least since the time multiplayer has been available on the PC platform. A player makes a post complaining about a ban he received, pleads his innocence, and asks his account to be reinstated. The community has none of it, and accuse him of cheating and lying about it. You wouldn't have gotten banned if you didn't cheat. This is the same type of response he will get if he bothers appealing his ban, and rightly so, most in the gaming community would argue. It's understandable why they support such measures, seeing as so many games have been ruined by pervasive cheating, driving away the majority of the player base. Apex Legends is the most recent example of a game that was at risk of suffering this fate. Respawn, the developers, take this threat seriously and have issued permanent bans based on hardware identifiers to hundreds of thousands of players. A disclaimer before we go any further. This video does not defend cheaters, but instead analyzes how consumer rights have become collateral damage in the war on cheaters. Consumers, for their part, have been not just oblivious of the erosion of their rights, but downright complicit. If consumers are deprived of a product they paid for, they should at the very least be told why. The European Union agrees. Well, that is an understatement, as they have introduced legislation that gives individuals the right to access any information any company has on them. But more on that later. It is no surprise players universally approve of irreversible bans until they inexplicably find themselves on the receiving end of it. Then it's their turn to be scorned, disbelieved and turned away by the peers they used to play with and the company they purchase a product from. Worst of all, they won't even be told what they are banned for. For this instance, let's look at a message a PUBG player received after he asked why he was banned. We have determined there was a violation of our terms of service. We cannot provide any specifics on the details of the violation. Therefore, we do not accept any requests for rechecking account restrictions. However, we also constantly check our systems for false bans, and if found, we correct any issues internally. This has gone beyond turning innocent until proven guilty into guilty until proven innocent. You're guilty because the company says you are, and they won't even let you prove that you're innocent. This policy is universally adopted in the gaming industry. For another example, let's look at Valve's anti-cheat. VAC bans are permanent, non-negotiable, and cannot be removed by Steam support. If a VAC ban is determined to have been issued incorrectly, it will automatically be removed. We do not disclose the cheats that were detected while connected to a VAC secured server that resulted in a VAC ban. We have detailed records for each VAC ban. However, releasing this information would only benefit cheat developers. Regardless of who was using the account at the time of the infraction, VAC bans are permanent and will not be removed. There was at least one notable exception to this, a very public affair wherein bans were lifted en masse after Valve were forced to acknowledge they had wrongfully banned thousands of Modern Warfare 2 players. At least they were more forthcoming than their competitors by having the decency to tell the affected players why they had been locked out. The problem was that Steam would fail a signature check between the disk version of a DLL and a latency memory version. This was caused by a combination of conditions occurring while Steam was updating the disk image of a game. This wasn't a game-specific mistake. Steam allows us to manage and reverse those erroneous bans, about 12,000 erroneous bans over 2 weeks. Accidents do happen, and Valve did atone for their mistake, first by explaining how it occurred, then by providing affected players with a free copy of Left 4 Dead 2 to compensate for the inconvenience of being banned without cause. This disclosure in their technical failure and their subsequent compensation was an exception to their usual protocol. We spoke with another player who was wrongfully banned and then unbanned. Valve did not reveal what had triggered the ban, nor did they provide any free game for the trouble they had caused. Ubisoft is much the same, at least when it comes to withholding the reasons they ban players for. For instance, let's look at this Reddit user's experience with their support. I played The Division 1 early last year. Picked it up with all the expansions. Love it. It was mostly a single-player game for me. I sometimes ventured into the Dark Zone or Resistance modes. It was pretty fun. I was getting into the endgame classified gear farm. However, at some point, I got banned. It was a bit of a surprise to me, but I reached out to support for the ban reason. And the answer I got was that it was a permanent ban and they cannot remove it because of clear and obvious proof that I was cheating. Which left me baffled, because I knew that cheating is not something I do. Honestly, I would not even know how to do it. I asked for further explanation, thinking that maybe something triggered a false positive flag. However, Ubi support claimed that my request was denied and they cannot share any information with me. Fast forward to today, Division 2 is coming, and I'm really interested. Wanted to try it out, but don't feel good about spending money on something that I can lose for reasons I cannot predict. So I reached out to Ubi support again today, hoping they could provide me with guidelines for what could trigger their anti-cheat system. I got a fast response, which is a plus, but the statement is baffling. It reads, "I understand that you would like more about the software which could cause conflicts with the anti-cheat system in the Division. For security reasons, we are not able to provide you with information on which software is legal and illegal when playing the game. Apologies for the inconvenience this may have caused you. If you need further assistance, please do not hesitate to contact us." Why do these companies use words they don't mean? Why apologize when you are not sorry for the inconvenience you caused? Why tell him to contact you again for further assistance when you know he needs further assistance with a problem you will not assist with? And he did contact you for assistance. To be fair to Ubisoft, there was one case where they did assist. The player shown at the beginning of this video. A streamer who had at the time over 590,000 subscribers on YouTube.
What? Chat, what is this? What? I'm talking to Epi. I swear to God.
The Epi he's referring to is a community developer at Ubisoft, and apparently he got Ubisoft to take a second look at the streamer's case. This revealed the ban to be erroneous, and the streamer was quickly unbanned. Not for long though. He was permanently banned again, though this ban was also lifted. This guy is famous. You aren't. What if this happened to you? What recourse do you have? Who would you contact to have your ban reviewed? Due process and verification of guilt are reserved for the famous and the connected, it would seem. If there's a lesson to take away from this, it's this. Don't rejoice in another player's punishment, for there is a chance you might share their misfortune. That being said, this particular case being so publicised forced Ubisoft to explain what had triggered the streamer's ban. This evening, all players that were banned were part of 2 lists. One list contained players that were taking advantage of a method that can be used to hack the rate at which renown is gained in situations, up to the 50,000 renown daily limit. The first group makes up the majority of the players banned this evening. For those unfamiliar, renown is the game's grind currency, what you get for completing matches and what you use to unlock the game's characters. By banning players for fiddling with renown gains, Ubisoft banned players who had bought the game for skipping the grind without paying them again for the privilege. They are far from the only company that does this. Bethesda banned a player who had bought their Fallout 76 and somehow enjoyed it enough to sink 900 hours into it, just because he had acquired too much ammunition of a certain type. Item duplication was the charge used to justify his suspension. That being said, the explanation for these bans indicated that these suspended accounts will be reactivated when the fix was live and confirmed. The player, whom we shall henceforth refer to as the enthusiast for reasons that will soon be evident, did get his account back. For a while. 5 days after he got his account back, he thought it was a good idea to give Bethesda some money and support the game he loved. For some inexplicable reason. He was banned again the next day. He received no communication over this second ban for over a month, causing him to declare open-ended suspensions are literally just a rephrased way to say permabanned. Despite all of this, he inexplicably bought the game again and has sunk 430 hours in this second account. Some people never learn. Still, one would think Fallout 76 is the one case that everybody would learn to steer clear of. It has even made the news for banning people for using mods to improve its woeful graphics. Furthermore, they also banned players who discovered a hidden room that was reserved exclusively for the developers to use. But wait, you might say. They weren't supposed to go there. They weren't supposed to do that. So let's look at a game that banned players for participating in an activity they were supposed to participate in. Several players reported getting permanently banned from Guild Wars 2 after trying a jumping puzzle in one of its provinces, Metrica. This is the response one of them received after appealing the ban. Your Guild Wars 2 account was detected to be involved in the use of one or more disallowed third-party programs. While some programs are used for benign purposes, others are designed to cheat, exploit, or manipulate the game in an unacceptable manner. The use of the specific program or programs associated with your account was determined to be a breach of the Guild Wars 2 user agreement and the rules of conduct, both of which you accepted when you created your account. As a result of this breach, the account has been terminated. We have complete confidence in our detection and in our decision to terminate the account. Therefore, we will not accept an appeal in relation to this account termination. The customer then asked what cheats he was accused of using and got this reply. The decision to terminate the account is final. This decision has been thoroughly reviewed by our team and we maintain absolute confidence in our conclusion. I am unable to provide you with any more detailed information regarding our detection methods. This information must remain confidential so that it is not used in the future to avoid cheat and exploit detection. The account will remain permanently closed and is not eligible for reactivation under any circumstances. Following this message, customer support closed the ticket. The customer didn't give up and shared his experience on Reddit, forcing a developer to acknowledge the issue. Thanks for bringing this to our attention. I am investigating the relation between these bans and the Metrica province jumping puzzle. An issue has been identified that is responsible for this occurring, and it has been resolved so it does not occur again. As for the already existing bans caused by the Metrica province jumping puzzle, I am working to resolve your issues shortly. 3 days later, the player got his account back, along with this message. We recently identified a bug in Guild Wars 2 that resulted in a small number of erroneous account terminations. We have reviewed your account and our game data in great detail, and have noticed that you were impacted by that game bug. We sincerely apologize for this error and have reinstated your account. Hang on, didn't you say the decision to terminate the account is final? This decision has been thoroughly reviewed by our team and we maintain absolute confidence in our conclusion. The account will remain permanently closed and is not eligible for reactivation under any circumstances. Do words even mean anything anymore? Or is it just your customer support whose words are worthless? Or are they just the fruit of the poisonous tree that is Arenanet? This is a company that bans players for buying items that have been affected by a price glitch. Players are punished for a bug that developers were too incompetent to spot and fix. Instead, this is what Arenanet wants from users who stumble upon glitches. 1. Find out specifically what causes the exploit. 2. Reproduce the exploit a few times to make sure you have it down correctly. Wait, so they want players to reproduce the exploits? Isn't that the excuse they use to issue bans? Their third instruction just makes this easier for them. Report the exploit to exploits@arena.net. Include your display name and preferably the character name that you exploited on. Help us find you so we can ban you. Ironically, these instructions were issued in response to a player who complained of a ban for doing exactly this. We are not paraphrasing. This is what he said. Without going into too much detail, I found an exploit to get a very significant amount of account-bound currency. I tracked the amount of currency obtainable through this exploit and bought a cosmetic item using said currency. Something that would not affect anybody else. To verify that the currency was actually considered to be in my inventory and not a visual bug. After sending an exploit report in-game and an email to exploits@arenanet, I came home to find my account being suspended for 72 hours. So now I'm pretty confused. I didn't say a word to anyone about the exploit. I didn't affect the market in any way. I submitted a detailed bug exploit report in-game and through email. How do I report exploits in the future without getting punished for discovering it in the first place? That's right. Arenanet responded to a user who was banned for testing and reporting an exploit by ordering other players to do exactly what he did. What can bug reporters expect in return for helping Arenanet fix their game? Not a response. We can't and won't respond to any report via exploits@arena.net. We get a ton of emails, and we can't comment to players on the state of when things are going to get fixed. On the rare chance we do need clarification, you'll get a response. How lovely! You won't even get acknowledgement, let alone gratitude, for helping us fix our mistakes. Forget gratitude, you can't even expect immunity for testing and confirming the bug as they asked you to do. Some might say this is old news. This is not representative of Arenanet anymore. Is that so? Let's look at a more recent incident. In April 2018, Arenanet suspended 1,583 accounts involved in the use of illicit third-party software. To their credit, they did specify the programs that triggered the bans. Cheat Engine, Nabster, Guild Wars 2 MHR.exe, UNF, MMO Minion. Despite this token of transparency, the method used to detect these programs quickly became a point of contention. One of the players hit by the ban wave was a software engineer who used his skills to investigate the anti-cheat that may have caused his ban. What he found was concerning, to say the least. Arena released a client-side spy component as part of their release on March 6. They removed the client-side spy component again in the release on March 27th. So if you did get banned in this ban wave, you were flagged within that time frame. I performed my analysis on the 32-bit client released on March 6. The majority of the spy component can be found at address 0x6FBC10. This function implements two major spy mechanisms. It will first enumerate all loaded DLLs within the Guild Wars 2 process using the enum process module's Windows API. It will then obtain the file name associated with the module using the getModuleFileNameX function. For each file name resolved this way, it will then go ahead, open the file, read its content, and then hash the file's content using the MD5 cryptographic hash algorithm, function 0x6F4E90. You can think of a cryptographic hash in this case as a unique fingerprint of the file's content. The calculated hashes are then stored in the list for later use. I was pretty certain this couldn't have been what got me banned, as I did not bot, so there surely weren't any malicious or cheaty DLLs loading within my Guild Wars 2 process. So let's move on to the other, and in my opinion, a much more problematic method they implemented. After they created MD5 hashes of all the DLL files loaded within the Guild Wars 2 process, they move one step further. They obtain a list of all currently running processes using the enum process Windows API. They will then deobfuscate two strings that they use together with load library and getProc address to obtain the address of the query full process image name function from the Windows kernel 32.dll library. You can already kind of see where this is going. They will then go through all processes and get their file names. Those file names are then fed into the very same hash function as before at 0x6F4E90, which will open the respective files, read all their content, create a MD5 hash of it, and return said hash, which are then, again, stored in a list for later use. So that must have been it. Arena decided it was okay to just snoop around in the processes I was running and decided it found something it didn't like. What it was? Only they know. The spy component doesn't include the list of MD5 hashes they look for. It only creates a list of all hashes of all modules loaded within the Guild Wars 2 process, as well as all of the other processes running on your system, and then sends that list off to the Guild Wars 2 server as part of the normal traffic. Which, by the way, is poorly encrypted from what I can tell, so chances are anyone in between can figure out exactly what processes you were running as well. The problem is, that just because you have a process running that could potentially be used to cheat in your game, doesn't mean it is used to cheat in your game. This is exactly why competent anti-cheat developers would never go down this route. There are plenty of more effective, more precise, and way less intrusive methods to detect cheating in your game. You don't have to massively degrade game performance for everyone. Reading a shit ton of files on your system and hashing them isn't the most lightweight thing to do. And if you had stutters or high disk activity during that time, you know why now. So what does that leave you with? Well, first of all, assume that Arena has a list of all processes running on your system. While the list is submitted in forms of hashes, those hashes are not salted, so they are trivial to reverse. Just search for the MD5 hash on VirusTotal, and there is a 99% chance you will find the exact file, file name, version information, and, if you have subscribed to VirusTotal Intelligence, the exact file. Since the protocol is completely insecure, assume that the NSA, or any other state-sponsored agency that captures and retains a lot of internet traffic, has that information about you as well. In response to this, another user analysed the anti-cheat and found a function that is only adding the blacklisted MD5s and not just sending all home. If their cheat detection being likened to spyware wasn't bad enough, Arenanet admitted in January 2019 that the spyware in question had banned players innocent of any wrongdoing. We're not paraphrasing. This is the message they sent to the players they had wrongfully deprived of their product. We're writing to let you know that we made a mistake and we're taking steps to make it right. In April of 2018, we acted to address the issue of disallowed third-party programs within Guild Wars 2. The programs we focused on had the potential to give their users an undeserved or unfair advantage in the game. After gathering and assessing data, we suspended game accounts that were indicated as having used at least one disallowed program over a sustained period while playing Guild Wars 2. We reinstated all accounts suspended under this initiative by October 2018. We recently performed a full investigation of the accounts that we suspended during this initiative. During that review, we discovered that a very small number of accounts were suspended in error, including your account. We have directly reached out to any account holder who was impacted by this issue. Arenanet didn't revisit these bans because they wanted to be fair to the consumers who had purchased their product. They didn't verify their players' guilt or innocence to maintain the integrity of their systems. The only reason they reviewed these cases was because they were forced to do so. Even then, they resisted every step of the way until they couldn't deny it anymore and had to concede to contain the fallout. One of the consumers wrongfully banned used the full weight of the law to reopen his case. And the way he did so may hold lessons for all of us on how we deal with the industry's worst practices in the future. Let's look at the Reddit post where he detailed his experience. Since Arenanet has been sending out their mails regarding their error already, I thought I might publish a little backstory about it and why they reinvestigated those accounts. I was affected by the ban wave in 2018. As I knew I did nothing wrong, I contacted the support before I even saw the news about the bans. As I've been a member of a German community website regarding Guild Wars 1 and 2, I had contacts within NCSoft and Arenanet, which I tried to use to get them to look into this too. Back then, I thought this would be a small mistake, and they would rectify this ASAP. Well, I was wrong. I basically got told by one of my contacts to wait for support to answer, and completely ignored by others. Some weeks later, I finally got an answer from support. They told me I had used UNF, something I'd never heard of till that day. I wrote emails back and forth, telling them this ban has to be a mistake and they should please reinvestigate. To no avail. They insisted I was a cheater and would not accept any appealing to this ban. After that, I tried to write to aforementioned contacts again, only to be ignored again. It wasn't until August 2018 that I decided to use the force of the GDPR and get all the data they had about me. The GDPR he's referring to is the General Data Protection Regulation, a law that guarantees data protection and privacy for all citizens of the European Union, though its scope goes further than this oversimplification might make it seem. For one, it applies to any business that might have European customers. Furthermore, it empowers consumers to force any company to disclose any information it has on them. The consumer may also have the company delete said information in accordance with his rights to be forgotten. In either case, the company must respond within 30 days. If a company deletes any of the data to prevent disclosure after the request is made, it can be liable for criminal sanctions. If the company doesn't comply, they can be fined 20 million euros, or in the case of an undertaking, up to 4% of the total worldwide annual turnover of the preceding financial year, whichever is higher. On the other hand, all the individual has to do to start this process is file a subject access request, an email, fax or letter asking for their personal data. How did Arenanet deal with their consumer's request? Weeks later, I got a response telling me that they can't comply to my request because it was too broad. Again, weeks of writing back and forth till they finally agreed to give me access to some of my data, including the cheat detection logs. I only had to verify that I'm the account owner. Let me simplify this 4-month journey by saying this. They required me to give them all the information they had saved about me, some which I couldn't remember and had to guess, before they gave me back less than I gave them. It was exhausting, and I was on the brink of giving up. But I made it through and finally got my data in December 2018. Now, to my surprise, as I already said, they gave me less information that I already had given them. But that didn't matter. I had the cheat detection logs, though with erased timestamps, including the MD5 sums of the programs they detected. I was determined to find out which of my programs triggered the false positive. It took me a whole minute to find out that they had fucked up badly. As I've been dealing with MD5 a lot, I recognize that hash. It's what you get when you hash an empty file or string. I wrote a lengthy letter to the data protection officer, as I was forbidden to write to the Arenanet support as they thought I wasn't nice enough towards them when they let me walk through hell with their verification and basically called me a liar. Stating the problem and asking for a contact within Arenanet to talk about this. They, he, she, never got a name, agreed and told me someone from Arenanet would contact me. Fast forward to today, I've never gotten that contact. But today I got a mail. It's slightly different to that sent out to everyone else involved. Hello, Sasha. We're writing on behalf of Arenanet to thank you and to apologize. Due to your diligence, we were able to identify a mistake that we made and take steps to make it right. As you know, back in April of 2018, we acted to address the increasing use of disallowed third-party programs within Guild Wars 2, focusing on programs that had the potential to give their users an undeserved or unfair advantage in the game. We suspended accounts that were identified as having used at least one disallowed program over a sustained period while playing Guild Wars 2. We reinstated all suspended accounts by October 2018. When you let us know you had spotted a possible anomaly in the data you received in response to your personal information access request, we immediately began a full investigation of the data related to all accounts that were suspended during this initiative. As a result of that investigation, we discovered that a very small number of accounts were suspended in error, including yours. Yes, it's always a very small number of accounts. No need to worry. We are extremely sorry for this error and very grateful that you made us aware of it. We will be taking steps to make things right for yourself and that small number of impacted players. Within the next day or so, we will be reaching out to every account holder who was impacted by this situation to let them know we'll be sending them in-game mails with unlocks for episodes 1 through 5 of Living World Season 4. In addition, we'll be adding 2,500 gems to each game account. These gifts represent our sincere apology for the error and our regret for the inconvenience or uncertainty that the account suspension may have caused those who were incorrectly suspended. Again, thanks for communicating with us about this, and for your patience as we pursued the matter and developed a plan for making it right. We greatly appreciate your support of Guild Wars 2. Regards, Gail Gray and the Guild Wars 2 team. So, after all the time and energy that went into this, they finally admitted their mistake. To all the people who were affected by this, enjoy the verification of what you already knew, but the support of the public denying. You did nothing wrong. They did. It's reasonable to assume these innocent players would have stayed banned had this GDPR request never been filed. This just demonstrates it takes the full force of the law to get companies to do right by their customers. This is why consumers who scoffed at reports of wrongful bans are just working against their own interests, by fostering this culture of disbelief towards their own kind. You will never be in the company's position. You'll never be the one whose bans are questioned because you will never issue bans. You are a consumer, and if your luck runs out, you might find yourself in the position of consumers who've been denied the product they've paid for without the basic courtesy of being told why. If this does happen to you, the General Data Protection Regulation might be your only recourse. We wonder how many of those we scoffed at would have been exonerated had the GDPR been enacted sooner. We wonder how many will be exonerated in the years to come. However, this assumes consumers will assert their new rights, and they can only do so if they know what their rights are and how they can assert them. Filing a GDPR request may only be the first step in the path to exoneration, as the data in Unearth will have to be analysed and interpreted. The Guild Wars 2 player, who pioneered this procedure, had the technical know-how to recognise the error in his case. But others might need a specialist to make sense of the data they retrieve from the company. This can be a daunting prospect. They might need some encouragement before they start the process to challenge a company worth millions or even billions of dollars. Knowing others in their position have asserted their rights to success may inspire them to get the ball rolling. This is the reason this video was made, to inform consumers the GDPR has given them rights they have never had before. No matter what the company says, laws and regulations override any policy they set for themselves and their customers. So please help raise awareness by sharing this video. Please like, subscribe and press the bell icon, as there is more content like this on the way.